All right, everyone, welcome. My name is Pirooz Kalayeh, and we are here at Southern Illinois University Carbondale at the School of Media Arts, where we have the great privilege and honor of Setareh Samandari being our incredible guest, a director and video effects artist, as well as an interdimensional video effects artist. Setareh Samandari's visual effects work can be seen in films such as Steadfast, Exemplar, Glimpses, and Dark Acid. She directed and created visuals for the music video Breathe Free by Shani featuring Andy, made visual effects for Jack Lenz's Here Comes Love about the Black Lives Matter movement. And she also created 3 full CG videos for the Garden of Ridvan to go with music Jack produced and wrote in collaboration with James Seals and Kingsley Thurber. Her next video effects project is for the film Vertical, directed by Maryam Pirband. Thank you so much, Setareh, for joining us. And I am just going to hand it over to you because I know this is a production workshop. So our usual questions are going to all be answered by you, but of course, there'll be time for students to ask questions as well. Thank you so much, Setareh.
Thank you, Dr. Kalayeh, for having me. I'm so excited to share some ideas about real-time engines and virtual production with you guys. So before I start, I want to know how much do you guys know about visual effects and real-time engines? Any ideas? I guess. So let's get into it. And then at the end, I'm just going to save some time if you have questions. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen with...
I will talk about real-time engines in Unity. So what I do know is that I love it. And the most that I did work with it was last semester with my graduate animation students. And we were basically creating movement within exhibition spaces for museums. And I was so excited. And that's why I'm so excited to see what's capable with this, with action cinema. The end.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very exciting to hear. You have some experience with Unity. I love it. I love virtual productions because, you know, like technology is super helpful to help creators actually looking outside of the box, right? Something that we haven't been able to do before. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so that way I can show you some stuff because if I just talk and you don't know what I'm talking about, that's gonna be super boring. So let me see if I'm able to actually do this technical part correctly. There we go. All right, let me see. Get you guys back. All right, can you see my screen well?
Yes.
Awesome. So real-time virtual production. I'm using the game engine Unity for real-time. There's many other game engines, few other ones out there. I love Unity because it's easier. The interface is like the one, like if you use modeling or Modbox, Maya, any of those, this almost has the same interface, so it's easy to use. So in this project about real-time engine, I'm going to talk about LED screens, about integration with, 3D real-time engine and green screens, LEDs, HDR renderings. So the first project that is a very good showcase for this real-time engine is called Dark Assets. This film was directed by Michael Winnick. Before we get to it, let's go ahead and take a look at this trailer together.
Fine, I'll bite. What's your story, John?
I'm part of a secret spy program that implants microchips into people's heads to make them super smart.
Has that line ever worked for you?
Microchips have been doubling in power every 18 months for the last several decades.
I was a finely tuned weapon.
The human brain, on the other hand, has remained virtually stagnant the last several thousand years.
That was before the chip. Soon after my chip was implanted, I met an agent.
Seems like that thing inside your head does a lot more than the doctor said.
The doctor.
Dr. King, the one responsible for the whole program. He wanted to push the technology forward. And finally make a super spy.
You'll be better than before. Smarter and more skillful in every way. You'll have the calculating power of the most advanced microchip ever invented. There won't be anything you can't do.
Right, Mr. Super Spy. What am I thinking right now?
How do I get rid of this devilishly handsome stranger?
You're half right.
Which half?
Not the one you were hoping for.
So what just happened?
As I said, the chip's still a work in progress.
Maybe they should have perfected it before they implanted it in your head.
There was a version of the chip before, but this time, they would have total control.
Go get him.
Aren't you breaking some spy code by telling me all this? Wouldn't you get into trouble?
Already did.
Hit the kill switch! Abort!
It's not working!
Hit it! Abort!
You have an uncontrolled, dangerous military asset offsite.
John Doe was supposed to follow orders. The chip leaves him no other option.
Perhaps he still is.
Who is it?
His own.
There'll always be some guy who wants more power. For the chip program, begins and ends with Dr. King.
I shouldn't be so hard on you. I'm just a lowly office drone. Please, continue.
Great. So this is an action movie. Let's see if I
Fine, I'll bite.
next scene. There we go. So if you look at dark assets, okay, let me see if I can see you guys, because that's weird. I feel like I'm talking to myself. There.
No, we're here with you. Don't worry.
Okay. So let me.
If you want us to talk back to you, we can talk back every once in a while.
No, let me put you guys like somewhere there so that way I can see. Do you, if I share the screen right here, it covers your screen as well?
Yeah.
The video camera?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me get rid of it. Okay. So dark assets. So if let me see, this one, it shows the real-time engine, the chip. We created it in this environment. All of it is CG. So when you're thinking about your environments and your movie and planning for the script for location scouts, it's very good to think about ideas that you can do in a real-time engine, building the whole location, and what the capabilities of the real-time engine is that you can do camera tracking on set. There is the final pixel rendering. This scene in the movie, they were all final pixels. And then there is also live action integration. So by that, what I mean is, let's go to the next slide. So if you see this scene right here, this is all a CG environment, and these guys were on green screen. So the way this worked is that you can shoot it on green screen. Let's see if the next, let's take a look at it. And then the camera move is done afterwards in the real-time engine. So if we go to the next slide, let me come over here. So this is how we planned. It was all done on green screen, and this is the holograms, and then we created the CG background, and then you put your green screens in the real-time environment. The good thing about the real-time environment is that if we go back to the slide, this is pro volume, means that your elements are all going to be lit by and interact with the environment, the CG environment, meaning that each ball here that bounces the ball, the light everywhere, and so whatever object that you have wherever in the scene is going to be bounced, light will be bounced towards it and then goes back to the other objects. So it looks much more photoreal than a normal CG environment. So it's good to have pro volume.
So those pro volumes are specific to the real engine when you're using real engine?
Unity real-time engine has the pro volumes. It's very good to use them because then you get the correct and realistic light bounce. So if you don't have pro volumes, for example, if you have an object in the middle, the light bounce is going to be only from one side. Pro volumes allows it to be light bounce from everywhere, and then it bounces back to the object. So in real life, light bounces many times back and forth between objects, right? So for example, if I have this light bouncing to my face, then it bounces back here to the flower and then bounces back to me. So the pro volume allows you to do that. Then technically what it does is that as if you really had your talents in the actual scene. So if you go back to this right here, if you look at it, and the camera move was done afterwards. So the shot was done static on green screen, and then we added the camera move afterwards in real time.
So it basically creates a simulation that the actors themselves look like they were shot in a real environment with that real environment. They were shot in a real environment, but the environment itself was real and light was bouncing.
Exactly. So it's like it really gives you an idea about how you can go about. So the good thing about real-time engines and the CG environments is that, it will save you time and money if you have to travel to different places in the world to shoot your movie. About the story, depending on the story, then you have more options of thinking about CG environments and green screens. Later, we're going to talk about LEDs. LEDs are also another options, which are that is very exciting as well. So this is the behind the scene. So what happens is that what we do this is the camera tracking. You need that if there is camera movements on set. In this movie, there were several camera movements on set, and the green talents on green screens later were moved to the CG environment, which there was another extra move on top, which for that you need the camera tracking. So the camera tracking helps if, to be able to take that camera move that's on set. For example, the camera move here on Alexa will be transferred to camera tracking in the CG world, which is super helpful. Now let's go. So this is another green screen that was composited. This is another way.
Setareh, can I ask you just a question about that? Because I'm just a nerd, real quick. So you're saying that you were shooting with an Alexa, which was on a slider, and then you had to replicate the slider movement in the CG environment. So you actually had to have a tracking machine that was matching the movement of whatever the slider was doing. So it was like recording it mathematically what was done?
It has to, yeah. It's called camera tracking. So Unity has its own camera tracking, which is affordable to use. That's what I use. There is other camera trackings, more expensive one called Moses. If you do virtual production, sometimes depending on the value of the production, you might need that as well. But for these, whenever the DP will have the camera tracking on top of the camera, mounted on top of the camera whatever camera move the DP does, the camera tracking will take that in. That is needed for the CG environment. If there is movement in the scene, that you're going to be transferring that movement exactly to the CG world. Several things that are very important for that to keep in mind is you need to have your focal point, the lens, and the focal distance, the lens, and depth of field. And also the best is to scan the area to make sure you have all the measurements. And by scanning is that we just scan it and then bring it to bring it to a 3D world via photogrammetry.
Are you doing getting all those readings manually by looking at the lens, or what are you doing to get all the
Yes, usually, the best is to know the scene, and you have to, the best is like to sit next to the DP before the shoot, ask for the lens, the focal point, and the distance, and then they have to measure the distance from the camera to the ground. Also, it's very important to know the angle of the camera. All of these are important because later when you want to composite and go to your CG world, you need to know all that to match it exactly. Otherwise, your camera is not going to line up.
And if the camera moves ever so slightly, so they can't move it much then each time?
You can actually, there is a scene that there is this scene in dark asset that it's the environment is totally CG. What we did was like the camera moved through these tunnels, had to move through these tunnels to go to this room. And the reason, that the tunnels or like the area that we needed to go to get to that room is all in CG. So in your green screen, you don't, if the DP doesn't know where that area or those doors or walls are, they can't see it. So what we did, if you look at the left right here, we were able to see our CG environment, and the depth sensor here will move with the camera. So the DP can move slightly where they need to. And depending, like for example, if you do a lot of movement, for example, I don't know, like that would be a good example would be the Jungle Book or Mandalorians. There is like
I was thinking of the same thing, like what if I went handheld, and so then the DP, or if they had a vest on with Steadicam and they were going through exactly like you were saying, then they could use the monitor as a visual to see the CG environment and then work with that environment
exactly
coinciding with it. So they would need it next to them to be able to see. Is that correct?
Yes. So you mount it on top of this and you'll be able to see the CG world. And the camera tracking you have to have the camera tracking if your camera moves, because then you need to transfer that camera tracking to your CG environment as well. So now let's go to the next slideshow here. This one is an example of final pixel. The background environment is, of course, the CG environment, which the light bounce, everything on this talent is all, showing how the light bounces back. Let me see. But this one is a video, so it shows like more of, this one was not the final one, so it's a little flat, but it shows the light bounce. So if we go to, let's see if I can go to the next slideshow right here. So this is what he was shot on green screen, and this is the background, and the Pro volume helps to integrate the foreground and background together very well. This one was a composite shot in Nuke afterwards. So you render your background and then you put your foreground and then you integrate both. So there are different options that you can always do with virtual productions or VFX. This, for example, right here, let me show you. There's it's like camera move on this one. The background was made in, this is a CG background, and it had to match the perspective and camera move of the green screen and integrate them both together. This is pro volume lighting that helps to integrate both together and create this lighting right there. You see like the lights bouncing back and forth between the background and the foreground, integrates it very realistically to each other. Now, let me see. This is another thing you can do in your shots. For example, in this scene, there was this app that they had to interact with. What we did is that we had one of our talented artists make the app. His name is Colin Zargapur. He actually made the app for this scene. So then what we did, this was shot on green screen and then integrated it with the background. But this app right here is all actually ready to go and see. So they were able to interact with it, use it, move it, change things in it. So that's a very good technique to have instead of just compositing the app later. So that was actually creating the app or thinking outside of the box helps save you a lot of money, because there was a lot of shots that this app was used in. So then we didn't have to actually go back and composite those. So the next one is LED. LED screens are actually very popular these days. This music video that we shot was during COVID, and the musicians, Andy and Shani, very talented individuals.
I can't believe you shot with Andy. Amazing.
Very talented.
How lucky.
They're actually it was very nice to work and collaborate with both Andy and Shani.
Yeah.
Shani came to me and said she made this music video. She made this music, this song. She wrote this song and made the music for it about freedom in Iran and women's rights. And that's something I do on the side. I work for human rights. I'm a human rights activist. And so when I heard her music, I was like, I can help you create something for it. So it's like a little short. But so let's get to the LED screen. With LED, the good thing about it is that it will give you a chance to be able to go to many different places, but be in the same place. So that will save time and money. And also it's for safety. Depends how many talents and individuals you have on set. So for example, this shot needed to be in a forest, and we were not able to, like, for those moments and the time of the day, the lighting go to an actual forest. So then we decided to use LED. So for this one, what I did, let's take a look at first the music video together. This story is about women's rights in Iran. Particularly, this was shot in 2019. And afterwards, we're going to go through
can feel the air. I can move in dreams when time is standing still. But hope has left me all alone, and endlessly I roam with nothing but my will.
So you better fly, little bird, fly high, little bird. So like an eagle, push the wind through your middle.
Can't I be all I can possibly be? Why must I hide here in chains? I just long to breathe free.
Light will guide you from within. Let music touch your skin, inspired from your fingertips. And trust, connect to all you are, your soul to every star. Let no one steal your wish.
Yes, and I will fly like a bird, fly high, little bird. Soar like an eagle, push the wind through my middle. Yes, I'll be all I can possibly be. Never alone, no more chains. I will start to breathe free.
Close your eyes and try. Find a passage back to all you were inside. Fly, little bird, fly. I know you know the way. It's your time.
Yes, I'll be all I can possibly be. Never alone, no more chains. I will start to breathe. Yes, I'll be all I can possibly be. Never alone, no more chains. I will start to breathe free.
So that music video, it was a great collaboration between many talents. So that's something, I wanted to talk about, how it's important to be able to be open to ideas and let all the talents really do their best at what they do, to have a successful project. This project didn't have that much budget for it, but even with that limited budget, everybody did their 100%, so it came out the way it came. So usually this is what I did for the LED screen. Everybody has their own ways of directing and shooting their scenes. What I like to do is, because I do multi things, if you're handy with editing and coming with concepts and stuff like that, that's super helpful. I love to have my lightings already and examples of what I want to collaborate that with the DP beforehand. So that's what I had. Like, for example, I had the examples of lightings, what I wanted on set. And I had some concepts already there. Then also I did my own storyboardings. And then with the storyboarding, it's always good to collaborate with DP and with also the rest of the talents to be all on the same page. And we what we did is that we built sets on ourselves because actually, believe it or not, making the feathers, having, you know, custom designing and building costumes and stuff, but might be very costly. So we decided to become creative and just make it ourselves. This was printed on with a 3D printer, and then we just came up with designing it ourselves. And then we the story was about helping, you know, the story of hope. So we had to grow the feathers. So that's what we did. So you see right here, the forest, there were two different forests. There was the dead forest and then there was the alive forest. These you can, you know, build your CG wars on. In Unity, I used the real-time game engine Unity, and you just, what you do is you create your scenes, you save your cameras, so you know what your scenes are, to be able to then put them on LED on the day of. For this music video, we used 3 different environments and shoot everything in one day. So it had to be done very, you know, the uniqueness of this project was that everything was like time, you know, time was everything, because we had only one day access to that LED screen. So therefore, the best is to save your camera moves on your game engine, have everything ready, know what you want to do. So this here, we turned the green screen, the LED screen to green screen, and we just shot our talent there, and there she is right here. So you integrate it in your CG world, and then we did the extra camera moves were done later.
So with the LED screen in the background, sort of, you could use it as a green screen and then put in the environment, but you could also, as in the shot you had with yourself and then something in the background, it could also be a background at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
For example, this we were testing the Blade Runner scene.
Right, right, yeah.
You know,
and this is the same thing they're using in Mandalorian right now.
Exactly, yes.
Right.
So if you get into it, this is all CG. If you get a chance to see the video by itself on YouTube with high res, you can see the light bounce on the water and all the integrations. They were like super realistic. These are all CG. This is our green screen inside the CG, and this is LED in the background. There is a foreground. So if we go to it, if we look at these, let me go to, I want to show you, there we go. So let me see, there is a behind the scene. To save us time, I want to go there. In the behind the scene, you'll be able to see, the best is for a successful LED shoot is, or any shoot, is to have collaborations with the DP, and if you're directing, or with also the producers, everyone to be on the same page, so everybody becomes passionate and know what the project is about. So this is where we were talking about what we want to do, and we had our amazing production designers building the set for us. His name is Bob. And then the best is to take, you know, what I did is I had a screenshot of my different environments and gave it to Bob to make the what was needed for foreground for it. He did an amazing job. He changed, actually, we changed 2 environments, 2 foregrounds, and 3 backgrounds. So you see how he's integrating the foreground.
Oh, that's incredible.
And then what we need to do is, his name is Bob Wason. He did a great job, actually. It's very good to be able to work with amazing, talented individuals. So you see how you integrate, and then your background you integrate. You see this right here? That is the measurement of the height of a person. So you need to have that to be able to know how big your screen is, like where the talent's going to fit into your CG world. And
Setareh, you did mention something that you had to know how you wanted to move the camera before you began, right?
yes.
How did you know how you wanted to move the camera before? How did you decide
so
everything before?
The best way, because I have, what I did was actually best, that works for me, is that I know my, I sit and storyboard all of my story, and I know what camera angles I have, what lens am I using, what's coming next, and then I cut my storyboard, and then also I use stock footage, and I just build my whole entire story and edit it. So before doing any of these, I already have an edit of what I want to do.
Okay, so you're like, we were watching something with Edgar Wright last week with the narrative film production, and basically for Baby Driver, he did an entire animatic of the entire film, and you're sort of doing the same process, right?
Yeah, that's what I do, because some people would say one day shoot with singers, with 3 different environments, 3 different costumes, and change all that is impossible. But like if you plan it correctly, that's possible. So like not all the directors or everyone else would have access to cut their scenes or put it together, but storyboarding definitely helps. If there is virtual production, we always like help and collaborate with our wonderful directors and help them already plan ahead of time what their lenses are going to be, what are the camera moves. So with LED is very important. So this LED, the measurement was 30 by 10, I think. And then this is a Sony Venice camera, especially for the LEDs. You need to have like a very good sensor camera. The Sony Venice does a great job in now when we go forward, you see that there is this like total darkness, but Sony Venice actually captures the talent on the scene where Andy walks in from the darkness. We actually can see him with Sony Venice. And also with LED screen, what I would recommend is that we shot all of our scenes 6K, because then with LED is depending on how big your production is, you might not have that much option to move your camera where you want to. So the 6K gave us an option to be able to zoom in and zoom out later in post. So that was something that we used. And also, so the best is to know ahead of time. And also you see the scenes in Unity when you build them, you can go actually location scout in different places in the CG world and save those camera options. You can actually go and save, there is whatever camera move you do in the CG world, there's an option to save it. And then you just name them camera 1, camera 2, camera 3. And then on set, you just click on it and it will show up on your LED screen, because you need to know all of those ahead of time to be able to save you time.
So it's like a favorites with the camera, or almost like if we were doing TV broadcasting, I'd switch to camera 1, camera 2.
Exactly. So you need to know all those ahead of time. Otherwise, with especially LED is not something that it's more expensive. So that will help to save a lot of time and money and be able to do more. And then of course, like you have, depending on the production, you have many people on set. So you want to know ahead of time what you're doing. For me, what works is always, I want to know exactly all my shots. I want to know exactly what camera angles am I doing. And then of course on set, you do extra stuff on the side, but the plan A is always to know and cut the movie together with stock footage, all the lighting and everything. So that helps with the DP as well, to be able to go over all of those together. So that way, when you're on the set on the day, you actually get to do what you're doing. One thing that's very important is to have an extra day to go and with the DP and you to make sure with the lightings, if you have a gaffer. In our case, our amazing DP Leo was also our gaffer. Everybody chipped in for this was a human right project. So you need to have everyone on board to be able to do everything fast, to know what your lights do you want to have, where are they going, how many environments do you have. So we had ready and switched between them very fast.
Did you have any rehearsal time with the actors?
So I was very blessed because Andy and Shani are multi-talented individuals, and we had an amazing violin player and guitar player. So in between the sets, when everyone was changing, we did the rehearsals a little bit. Not as much before, but you need to have the rehearsal, especially with your LED screens. Actually, no, one day we had one test. You need to have a test day with LED to make sure the height of your actors are actually integrating correctly in your LED. The background and foreground matching correctly. Is the camera, you see that there's the tracker. You make sure on your test day everything works very well. You need to have your DP there. You need to have your the LED, the people who are involved with the LED stage there to make sure everything works. And one thing that's super important in real time is to always have your Wi-Fi, your own Wi-Fi device. Do not rely, never ever rely on the Wi-Fi of the area, the place, because real time the Wi-Fi's might not work with each other, might get disconnected. So then you're gonna lose time.
So you're saying make your phone into a hotspot instead is
no,
safer?
just take a Wi-Fi device with you. Just grab one and take it with you, and connect all of your everything through that particular Wi-Fi.
Okay.
That's very important. Otherwise, even like in big conferences with multi-million dollar budgets with hotspots and Wi-Fi's, you still need to have your own Wi-Fi, because what happens is that if there are multiple projects happening in the same place, the Wi-Fi's go and they cut each other off. So I don't know how to explain that, but you need to have your own. They interfere with each other, so it doesn't work. Especially in real time, you want to make sure you have your own Wi-Fi. That's number one lesson. So let me see. This one is the same. This should be something else. Let me see. Okay, so this right here, if you see, that's the camera tracking. So what happens is that this camera tracking actually tracks what's happening on the LED. So for example, when the DP starts moving forward with the camera, then we also, this tracks back to the engine, and then we actually, like for example, you imitate walking in the forest. So let me see if I have an example to show you. Oh, here, let me show you this. So you see when you have fog on your LED, then you actually add fog to your foreground, and you make sure everything's like the best is to be able to see everything on your monitor and check everything, especially if you're shooting on a 4K to 6K, of course, every little details, you pay attention to people's makeups, because this is all you want to make sure you don't have enough, you don't have much left for post. For example, if you see shine on your talent's skin that's not supposed to be there, have your makeup people just take care of those and clean them, because these things sometimes in post become more expensive to take care of. So here we were doing the rehearsals. So you see exactly, this is the imitation of walking in the forest. I think somewhere here it's gonna show up. So here, see in this monitor, you can exactly see what's happening. and what the lighting is going to be, what you see, how much place do you have to walk. You see the darkness right there, and this is Sony when it's taking it like that. With LED, one thing that's super important is to make sure you don't get that much close to the LED or really focus on it as much, not to get noise or flickers. And with real-time engine, you just move everything. So for example, this light, we move it with, when Andy's walking, we move the light in real time with him. So it exactly like you animate the light exactly as he walks, you just animate it with him. So here, that was like the length of the the LED. It's let's see if I can see the forest. Here we changed it to this one is the green screen. We changed the LED to green. So with green, it's very important to know your lighting, and it's always best to know what your environment is going to look like, so you lit your green screen specifically for that to get the best results. Otherwise, like for example, if people hear in visual effects or they hear, oh, there is this green screen that we have to use, and they just like put some green back there and shoot their talents, and they're like, here we go. It doesn't really work that way. Otherwise, it's just not going to work very well if the lighting for the green screen is not done correctly, or the actual green screen is not done, it's not the correct green, or if there's something in the scene that doesn't match. So it's always good to consult with your visual effects supervisor beforehand. So
how much was the rental of the 30 by 10 LED? If you don't mind me asking.
That particular one, I'm not going to be able to say, but this studio is called Funko Studio in LA, and the LED screens belong to OJ Wedding at Orbital Virtual. AJ with Orbital Virtual or Orbital Virtual. The cost depending, that is a good question, honestly. The best is like, for example, if you're students and shooting for like something that is, there's always ways to consult with go and check the studios or the LED studios and talk to them and say, I'm a student, I'm doing this project, and see if they have like free times. If you plan things ahead of time and you have everything done correctly, you can ask them to, you can just, in collaboration with them and in exchange for, making sure that there is like always, there's ways to collaborate. So, it's good to double check to see if there is discounts or not. But each stage is different. The price for each stage is totally different. Let me see. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so this one is that as she starts walking, and as she walks, she imitates walking on the stage. But what we do is that we just move the forest in real time. So it sounds like she's walking and she's going forward. I wish I had that somewhere. But in the music video, you see there's somewhere that she starts walking and going through branches. So we imitated the branches, some branches on the stage, and then actually you, in real time, you move through. And the good thing is that because it's real time, you actually, when you're moving through, and if there is this tree or something on your way, you can move them aside in real time. So that's very helpful. And then whatever you get is all, 4K or 6K in our case, all done. There's no compositing afterwards. There's all the lighting there. Everything's like clean. This was a high dynamic range, so it was a very high quality lighting and everything. But it depends on. So the do's and don'ts. Let me see. That's important if you want to set, especially with LED, because in particular they might be costly. So you want to make sure what to do and what not to do. The stuff we learned throughout the time was like, make sure your physical props and performers make up before shooting. Every little details matter. Then also communication with DP is the best. In previous, it's best to have your DP around and collaborate with them and see whether there is camera moves that you want to do and whether there is a possibility. Measure your stage and see if how much space can you go and move around. So the adding smoke on set it usually helps. It depends on if you have fog or not. But sometimes then, depending on the LED, this was the pixel on this LED was 1.8. There is many LEDs right now that they can go as low as 1.4, which is amazing. It's like when you look at it as if you actually you're actually in the real world. And what not to do is don't focus on LED screen to avoid Morier patterns. Don't wait until the day of the shoot to test the equipments. Always take your equipment and have a test day. They will always allow you for a test day. Depending on the stage, the test day can be, like you only need a few hours for it. So don't start shooting before adjusting your lightings and smoke to match exactly your set. So always it's best to look at your monitor and just think about that this is it. This is your movie. That's what you're going to see. Does everything integrate correctly or not? And then make sure you have your Wi-Fi router with you with a dedicated connection to the camera tracking. You need to have that, otherwise the LED and your virtual world will not get connected and work together. And also make sure you calibrate the movement settings on the tracking device to correspond with the real world dimensions. So that's also important. And this is the end. And there we go. So yeah, we used Virtual Studio, Orbital Virtual Studio, Funko Studio, amazing individuals that helped us with these collaborations and projects. And I hope I was able to show a little bit of what to do with the virtual productions for all of your incredible, amazing talents.
That was wonderful, so exciting, and I cannot wait until we have this at our program. And in fact, we have Robert Dennis coming on Monday, so maybe we can convince him to buy us an LED screen. I think that would go perfect on our soundstage. What do you think, Clayton? Maybe that's the purchase to get. Ashish, what do you think?
Yes, that's the only
we need an LED screen, a giant one.
Yes.
I don't know if everybody knows, but we do have a giant green screen in the basement that's available to all of us, and we can use. Ashish knows. I don't know if Ashish knows.
I know about that. Thanks.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up for questions from everyone to Setareh, and thank you so much for a wonderful talk. Anybody that has questions, go ahead and ask them. And I have a couple questions if you don't.
Yeah, Setareh, I'm Ashish here, and I'm doing my MFA, a graduate student in SIU in the Soma group. So it was a great lesson for me, and I always wanted to be an animator, but I failed it. But I ended up being an editor, and I know the whole process of the process. So, do you think pre-edit and post-edit? Pre-edit is like, as you said, pre-edit is always an important thing. And how do you mold the editing after you get all your shots? Because I worked in Bollywood films as an editor, and each clip cost a budget. So if, for example, you have a 2 seconds of a clip of an animation, and if you wanted a three second, and you have an extra money for it, so how do you think if you want an extra scene to happen in the any animation or a VFX thing, uh, pre-editing is most important, and how do I understand the post-editing? If we need an extra shot of a scene, how can we extend that shot? Hope you got the question. Like, I was talking about the pre-edit and post-edit form.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Ashin, for asking those questions. Amazing, great job. Congratulations on your studies. And so everyone does it differently. You know, one thing that I like to do is always learn the box and think outside of the box. So I always like to think outside of the box about everything. When it comes to creating anything that you have, like it's a movie, music video, if there is a CG, like for example, if you have a chance to go online just on YouTube to search for Ridvan Garden, those were all full CG and there's animations. When you're talking about 3 minutes and 2 minutes animations, are you talking about the traditional way of using the traditional animation? Is that what you were saying?
Yes, traditional animation. Yes.
Yes. So with real time, engines, you don't have to worry about that. What I did, like if you go to, I don't know, let me show you. Let me see if I can search it up really quick and show you. Let's see if I share my screen. Let me see if I can find it. So like, for example, in real-time engine, what you can do is to save you time, you can have, I do my animations myself, and I use Modbox to build my models, or sometimes in Maya I make them. But you can also have someone help you make your, for example, if you have a person walking in the forest. So in real-time engine, you actually don't have to go and animate everything, and things don't take 3 minutes and 2 minutes. You actually in real time can move everything around and change things and move your talents. And you can do as many minutes as you want, as long of a shot as you want. And then one thing that will help is, with animations, you can rig it. Rigging is take more time. It's very timely. What I use is mocap. There is many few affordable mocap products that you can use. You just wear them and you just do the walks, whatever that the animation of your scene, whatever that is. For example, if it's a human walking around, and then you just transfer that animation into your CG environment. So that's going to save you time. I would recommend using that instead of like the traditional ways of sitting and animating things for a long time. So that's what I use. In all of my CG animations, I use real-time animations like with mocap. And then you tweak it a little bit afterwards. And then in real time, the good thing is that you can play. The animations will play, and then you can change or move them around before shooting your scenes. So for example, in the Ridvan garden, what I did, I mocapped all of my CG elements. Then as I was moving the camera, the animations, they would walk around and do their things. And then I would time it. Like, for example, with the real-time camera, you go inside the CG world and start shooting your scene. And then you want at that particular moment, as you're walking, you know, like someone to walk through that scene. Then you animate it, move the animation back a little bit, and then have them walking. So that will save you a lot of time. You know, I don't use the traditional ones anymore because, you know, using Maya animation, that is very tedious and timely. And the editing is up to you. It depends. You know, I just like to do all of these because, you know, I've learned them. I love editing. I edited the whole scene for the Ridvan Gardens and this music video myself afterwards. It's just, you know, I love it because it's like puzzles. You put them all together and then you build it and you build it. So pre-editing, I would recommend if you know editing and you know your scenes, that's super helpful to have some ideas.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, yeah, I always do a pre-edit and then go for a post because you know what going to happen later. So, yeah.
Exactly. So you know, if you want extra scenes, you already know extra stuff that you want to do, but you already know exactly how many scenes you have. What would they look like? What would the lighting look like? And the good thing with CG and LEDs like that, you don't have to worry about sunlight and daylight, losing light. So that's always very, very exciting for me.
I always see in a general way.
Ashish, we want to give other people a chance.
Yes, sorry.
I know. You want to ask 1001. Anybody else, or we're going to let Ashish go? Anybody else with questions? Ashish, it's all yours.
So yeah, thank you. I always get confused with the lighting part in animation. I feel the lighting is very darkish in most of the animated films or the visual effects we used. Do you think is it my way of looking, or it is generally by? I see a lot of red, black, and you know, those kind of colors in my. Is it my problem, or it is where it is constructed in that way? I just wanted to know what that means.
It depends. If you're using, like, for example, Maya for your animation, what do you use? What software do you use for animations?
I use Maya. I ask my friends to work on Maya.
So with Maya, of course, rendering and lighting in Maya is totally different than real time. That's why I would definitely recommend, if you have animations, just to start learning the real time. You know, if you search up Unity on YouTube, there is a lot of good tutorials to help you learn how to use it. It's very most of the keys are the same as Maya, so it's very easy to get a hold of it. The shortcuts, everything mostly is like Maya, and then that will help you. So just explore with it and just put like some scenes in it, and then once you start using the real-time engine, you'll never go back to Maya for animating things. The only things I would use in Maya is like modeling my stuff. So I love modeling in Maya. That's, I think Maya is a great software for that. I prefer Maya over Blender, depending, some people like Blender as well. I just like the quality of Maya better. But for rendering and lighting, I prefer just you can export FBX to move it to your to Unity and just light it there.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Darren. I do have a question. First, I want to thank you for your presentation. I found it really fascinating. Um, can LED screens be used with film cameras, like 35 millimeter perhaps, or maybe does it have to be 70, or is that just impossible?
No, you can use that. You can use 35 as well. You can use most of the film cameras, yes.
Okay, thank you. And will this the video, the music video, will that be? Will people in Iran be able to see that?
That was it's on YouTube available. Yes, it's we particularly shot that to be available to public for free.
But I mean, the Iranian government hasn't had any reaction to it or anything like that.
Well, this particular one is just for women's rights. The meaning behind it was because of the women's voice in Iran. And it's for human rights. Even if the Iranian government has reactions to it, still women's need to have their rights. And
Oh yeah, I understand that, but I mean, they haven't tried to take it down or anything like that, or block it, or
even if they block, I honestly wouldn't know the answer to that because I'm not living in Iran. But even if they block it, still people will have a ways to look at the music video and find them.
good. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? So I do have one question if nobody else is going to speak, or maybe they're thinking about their question, and that is the choice between, you gave us two examples. One was the green screen that you did in the beginning, and then you went to LED screens, which is, I guess, the future now. And which do you prefer? And what would you suggest that we start doing as we start exploring this adventure that you've sort of introduced us to? And I'm very excited to try this and to bring you to campus potentially. For you to do it with us would be a lot easier for us to begin with it too. But do you think it'd be better for us to do it with an LED screen, or do you think it's better to do it with a green screen?
It's always good to have access to both. It depending on the scene. For example, in Dark Acid, there were moments that we needed to do green screen because there is no, depending, like for example, if you're moving from one room to another room and going through different things, you need to have a big set built. So that's depending on the budget, that might not be possible. So then you need green screen for that. But if you have a set that you are integrating things, for example, there is a battle happening and you have your foreground and background is LED, then you use the LED because your foreground is like a battleground and everything's shot at that area. With LED, you need only have the limitation of that area that you're using. But if depending on the budget, if you have enough time and budget to build a different set and use it, shoot another day, then you can have different multiple sets built and then change your LED. So it depends really. I love using LED because the light integrations, I'm also a VFX compositor and I hate green screens. So I hate using green screens. Using the word hate is not a good thing to do, but for compositors, that's why, like, if I have a chance to use LED, I prefer LED because everything, the lighting, everything integrates together beautifully. But with green, you have to always bring it in and composite it, change it, so much happening to it to make it look good. Of course, the real-time engine is super helpful, but still green, the green spill, the blares around it. If you have really the chance to have an LED and use it, definitely I would recommend that.
So I'm thinking that I need to have an LED room in my house. and I just never need to leave. Is that the dream? Right?
Sometimes I want to have that too. We're like, this wall is perfect.
Yeah. Just have an LED entire room, all the walls. You can just bring the actors into the house and we just shoot wherever we are. Just how exciting.
Exactly. And for the universities, actually, I would highly recommend for the university to have an LED, because then you also can rent it out to indie movies. You can
good idea.
You can make money out of it afterwards, so it will repay itself. Yeah. And then also I can double check with the Unity people and see if they would have an option, the Unity education team, and see if they have an option to be able to offer some collaborations with the university for the students to be able to use the game engine and learn about it. Because Unity has an education unit section that they all help with different universities to be able to collaborate and learn the engine, use LEDs.
Yeah, I'd love it. I know that we have an animation division at the school, and they're all using Unity now and Unreal Engine. But I kind of feel like we're in this world right now where filmmakers need to know everything. And so I have to know Unity. I have to learn all these things now too. But it's very exciting. It's like we just keep learning new tools and we keep building upon this puzzle, because when I see something like this, I immediately think, oh, now I can do vampires. I can do space movies. I can do things I always wanted to do, but never thought I'd be able to do.
Exactly. So one of the hopes that I have, before getting to film, I was in public affairs and human rights. And, in Iran, I grew up with no right to education because I was a minority, and part of a religious minority. And then when I came here, my vision was to be able to help the progress of people, and be able to have, learn and use my learnings to be able to help people, everybody else. There is many people that don't have enough budget to be able to make multi-million-dollar movies, but we have a lot of talented individuals in the world with lots of stories that can help and change the world. So that was my vision, to be able to help with that. And I would love to be able to help and collaborate. If anyone needs help, let me know. So that's one thing. And then another thing is always something that is always to be able to look forward, be a visionary, look, especially for directors, DPs, anyone in different fields, to be able to have an open mind to learn and collaborate with different talents, and think about, be futuristic, to be able to be more, to be able to create beautiful scenes.
Oh, I really appreciate you saying all this, because I've had a dream project I've always wanted to do, and I think it's visionary. And Setareh, you have to come help me make it. Oh, so I know you're not talking about me, you're talking about all the students and all the possibilities, but I feel like you're just talking to me right now, and that'd be wonderful.
I'll be more than happy to collaborate. Usually the way I do things is that between my projects or my extra times, one of the ways that I do service for the world is to use my extra time that people go party and do things. I use that to help other people achieve their dreams. So I would love to. Yes, definitely. Let me know.
Okay, fantastic. And I think we'll start by bringing you to campus and doing some of these things live. I think would be very helpful to everybody. I think everybody else would agree. So let's go ahead and give a virtual applause for Setareh. Thank you so much for joining us and being here with us today. We can't wait for you to join us in person, or for us to see you in Los Angeles. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us this week.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you next
Thank
week.
you. Good night.
Thank you.